Yep. The illusion of choice, the principles of duality are the methods of mind control. It took me a hot minute to really figure it out because you want to justify certain principles of duality based upon your current thesis at the time. And I say it in like that, in like second person, third person, whatever, because you all are going to be rationalizing and justifying your current belief system. And you're still going to straddle mine and take mine on, but then rationalize the complete opposite. Because that's what I did. Okay. I said when you take a side, you're taking part in this programming of for and against, and you're actually promoting both. And when, I was still in that principles of duality, like life and death, where it's all about life, which yes, it is. But I never acknowledged that, yeah, I mean, when you walk down the street, you step on an ant, the ant dies. You don't know it, it's unintentional, it's collateral damage. And so death is going to happen, but it doesn't have to happen in an intentional way. Death can happen during collateral damage because the unintended consequences of your survival is the fact that some things will die because you're trying to live. Okay, so all principles of duality, all of them are a mind control. The illusion of choice. And it's not just in politics. It's in religion, it's in science, it's in everything when somebody forces you to choose, whether it's between friends and family, between anything. If you have to make a choice, you're being mind controlled. But how do when you only have these options, you can only pick one or the other. Well, I mean, when it comes to a product, if you only have like $5 and you have to choose between one bill or another, well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you're still being controlled. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to prioritize. It doesn't mean that you don't get it at all. It doesn't mean like if you have $5 and, and you got to either pay this bill or that bill, it's not like the other bill is not going to get paid. It's just that choice right now, then and there. But really, what I'm talking about is like with my book, because that's going to be a chapter, but I have to verbalize this to really understand this. Because yes, all principles of duality. So anytime, a guru, whether it's the Dalai Lama or David Icke or, Trump or Biden or anyone that is promoting a type of thought or idea, and they are aging and degrading, which everybody is that's not on J-Juice, you are being mind controlled. You're being MK Ultra. And the whole thing with MK Ultra is to force you to react to something. Okay? Whenever somebody is trying to get you to react, whenever someone's trying to get you to react to where you hate them or you love them, or they're trying to have you choose them over somebody else or that over something else, that is a type of mind control. Because in reality, it's about balance. Why do you have to choose the one over the other? Why does it have to be a choice? And then it's about, I say about context, but context is a con. It's a false perception that it's separate and different and compartmentalized when it really is all connected. But it comes down to the laws of life and death, your life versus something else's life, and then what are your intentions and what's the purpose. Okay, your purpose on this earth is to keep yourself alive, be productive, I guess be relatively balanced, and contribute, carry your weight. Okay, I mean, and then whatever else. I mean, that's the basic purpose of a human, is to carry their own weight, to be relatively balanced considering the conditions, and to be productive, carry your weight. It's when you choose a side. Because if being productive, carrying your weight, and and being relatively balanced, those are all indisputable. What's balance? Well, it's where you are living indefinitely, where you're able to balance out your own biochemistry to where there is no imbalance, to where you're trying to keep balancing yourself out, and you keep going from one extreme to the other. That's an imbalance when you're going from one extreme to the other. When you're not carrying your weight, when you're mooching off of others on a most massive level, when you're non-productive and you're like a sloth, which that's part of the seven deadly sins, right? Um, then it's like, okay, then that's when all of the different stories and the different rationalizations and the different things come up, and then people start, you know, justifying their behaviors. But productivity is just, its productivity can be a verb or adverb. I mean, you could look up the parts of speech. I mean, productivity could probably be a few different things. It's the context. Okay? So it's a bit disputable what's productivity. But when you carry your own weight, when you are relatively self-sufficient, and what does that mean? It means different things in different societies. You could have a society where there isn't a bunch of infrastructure, so you're going to have to carry your own water, you're going to have to grow your own food, you're going to have to do all these different things. But when you're in a society that's pretty advanced, then it means that even though, yes, somebody else is carrying the water for you, like you're paying a water company to carry the water for you, you're paying a climate control company to make sure they carry in heat and oil and air conditioning. Okay, but you pay for it. You go out there and work, or you know, marry somebody and you fulfill your obligations within a partnership, and you help that person that is, paying the bills, to make sure that everyone's needs are met on some level without compromising yourself. So, I mean, so carrying your weight, yes, is very relative to to whatever society you live in. But that's the point of a human, is to be part of a working community. And not, I mean, and equality is perception. It's all relative. What is equal? I mean, nobody's like 100% equal, but we all have equal ability. We all have equal opportunity, but not equal ability, which means that you find where you fit in. And that's kind of like our current society, is that no matter what situation you're in, I mean, no matter what disabilities you have, you should find a way to fit in and utilize your strengths. But what we have found is that the diversity is so extreme that some people can't even fulfill their own weight. Some people cannot even, carry their weight. They are a drain on society. And, and that's kind of why we have these different political parties. But in my book, I'm going to point out that the principles of duality is a type of mind control, because it forces you to pick a side. And when you get forced, when you get forced to react and you get forced to pick a side, you may think that you are advocating something that's against something that you may be advocating something that you're against, or you may be advocating for something that you agree with that is against something else. But in reality, in another context, you're actually supporting it. So this whole principles of duality, where you're for and against, it's like chocolate or vanilla type of thing. People think that because they chose, pro-choice, that they're giving a woman, a right to choose, and then they promote the death penalty, and then it shows the hypocrisy. And so when you make a choice, when you are so extreme that it's like one or the other, like not understanding balance, then you are actually forced to be hypocritical. And that's our society, is they force you, when you make a choice, whatever it is, you are forced to be hypocritical, because even though you're picking this belief system, this product, this thing, you are actually wanting the other thing, but you can only make one choice. But then, it's a psychological operation. But I mean, there's a difference between a product where you're picking, okay, pumpkin spice latte versus a chocolate mocha. Okay, that is a bit benign. But when it has to do with politics or when it has to do with religion or science, let's just keep it to those specific things. Forget products for a minute. Politics, religion, or science. When you're forced to make a choice, one or the other, you inevitably choose something that you're against because of the fact that how these choices are being presented to you. Like I'm saying, when you're like, say, okay, I don't like death, I don't like Satan, and death is horrible, Satan's horrible, and it's only about life. Well, when you build a house, you destroy life. When you build a house, you have to tear up the land, you have to hurt the animals that are in the area, unbeknownst to you. I know many times where some guy is like tilling the whole, like weed eating a whole area with a big, huge tractor, and they hurt a bunch of deer. Okay, so I really have to clarify this thought process. But I think I'm going to stick with just politics, which I already am. I'm sticking to politics, religion, and science, and the hypocrisy of the principles of duality. The principles of duality is the actual essence of mind control. And then the MK Ultra forcing you to react is in forcing you to find an enemy, look for an enemy, get justice, and be a vigilante. And that's what you're seeing right now in our society is that things are rising to the top. All the things that people don't agree with are rising to the top, and then people are attacking each other. And so really when it comes down to it, it's about balance versus imbalance. We wouldn't have criminals, we wouldn't have pedophilia, we wouldn't have rapists, we wouldn't have bullies, we wouldn't have any of the things that we are trying to legislate laws, trying to create legislation for or against. We wouldn't have any of that if people were actually balanced, if we actually bred children with balance. Okay? And then if we stopped reproducing on such a massive level, we wouldn't always be reinventing the wheel. How many people, we have to keep teaching and reinventing the wheel to, and then they have different, developmental issues that they can't seem to grasp some simple concepts like don't steal, don't do this, don't do that, and they do that, and that's why you have law enforcement, that's why you have the justice system, that's why you have all these different agencies, because we have to keep people who are imbalanced in line. So yeah, the principles of duality is the essence of mind control. That's what I'm in. And I'm drinking a pumpkin spice latte. Or not latte, pumpkin spice coffee. It's 40 degrees out. I was out with like the sweater and short sleeves underneath, and I was like kind of sweating outside at 40 degrees, okay? So, the principles of duality is the very essence of mind control. And like I said, the reasoning behind that is because it forces you to make a choice based upon the triggers in your body. And then when you make a choice, chocolate or vanilla, and you choose chocolate because chocolate has this, chocolate is that, chocolate is whatever, and vanilla is this, and vanilla is that, whatever, then what it is that you are still promoting vanilla on the same equal playing field as chocolate. The only difference is the love and hate. But love and hate are two sides of the same coin. So the fact that they force you to make a choice on something, it means that they want it to exist. So the principles of duality is bringing into, that's right. So the principles of duality is bringing in the existence of something that you hate as well as something that you love. You are giving life to things that you hate and things that you love, which means that you're giving life to imbalances. You are actually promoting the imbalances and the balance of society. That's the principles of duality, is the fact you're bringing life to things that you love and hate. And a balanced person would not bring up the principles of duality. A balanced person would not force you to choose chocolate or vanilla. A balanced person would not force you to have any of these choices, would not force you to choose Democrat or Republican. So the principles of duality is very essence of MK Ultra, And it forces you to to give life. Okay, hold on. I gotta write this. Crap. The principles of duality is the very essence of MK Ultra, and it brings to life both things you love and hate. So this is how an imbalanced authoritarian regime can bring into existence things that are very, 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 very horrible. They're able to say, okay, well, we're against pedophilia, but we also promote it too. We're against stealing, but we also do it too. Okay? A balanced population wouldn't have you choose between chocolate or vanilla. It would be a balance of both. Here, have a little bit of chocolate, have a little bit of vanilla. When you have to make a choice, one or the other, then you start rationalizing why you're choosing one over the other. And that becomes your reality. And then you stand behind it and you start being an activist against the things that you have to choose, that you cannot choose. Because, I mean, when you're forced to make a choice between, like abortion and death penalty, it's like, okay, so yes, so that's right. So when you speak about the things that you hate, you bring it to surface and you bring life to it. Yeah, so the principles of duality is the very essence of mind control, and it brings to life both things that you love and hate. Because look at all the people that don't like J Juice, right? They are my biggest marketers. They have pages and websites and groups that are like all about bashing Jilly Juice. And yet they give people the opportunity to check out both sides. Who is this chick that's making all this, ruckus and controversy? Put me on Dr. Phil, this is the same thing. Dr. Phil bought, their TV is the very essence of bringing to life both things that you love and hate. Even though he slammed me, on air, he still promoted this my protocol because he presented it and gave existence to it. When you talk about something and when you denigrate it and then you promote it as well, you are giving life to it. So Dr. Phil, all of my trolls, all of my haters, as well as people that love J-Juice, have given life to J-Juice, gave it existence, gave it something to finally be able to evolve. Okay? And that's the same thing with this pedophilia, with all the different things that people are against all over Facebook, against the New World Order, against whatever. You're bringing all of it to life, and then when it comes to life, it has to evolve. What it will evolve into, I have no idea. It all depends upon your biochemistry. Whenever you put energy into something, when you put energy into a child, and that child flourishes and the child develops, and then that development and their flourishing journey is relative to the parent that is raising it and the system that it's living within. And when the system is imbalanced and the parents are imbalanced, guess what? That child is imbalanced. So right now we're giving to life to major things that are very imbalanced, and how it's going to evolve is relative to the society that's bringing life to it. There wasn't life to pedophilia too much. We knew it existed, but it was underground a few years ago. It's only within however many years that it came to the surface. In the 80s, it was all underground. They were doing shit like that in the 80s. I'm looking at this Art Deco page from the 1930s and the 1940s, and it was a lot of major sexual stuff. And that's during the time when Shirley Temple was being used as, as a child being exploited, and pedophilia was huge in the 1930s and 40s. And so when you look at some of the stars from back then, they were all about major sexual expression, and children were part of that. if you look up Shirley Temple and what she went through as far as the MK Ultra. Okay? And then in the 1970s, you had, Brooke Shields, and then, in the 1980s, 1970s, 1980s, Brooke Shields, and they were, you know, and all that. So they were mainstreaming this. So we are bringing to life things that are imbalanced. And how it's going to evolve is going to be based upon the population. So if you don't want to bring to life something that's so imbalanced, you have got to do the J juice. Your children must do the J juice. Some of you have pedophilia in your family, and it's going to be passed down in different members. It's a question of whether or not someone can keep a lid on it. Okay? The only way we're going to change our society and not give life to things that are so imbalanced and so horrifying is to change the biochemistry. And so, when you're in America that's been around for 300 years, we are a major experiment. I mean, we are a major planned society, like major planned society. And so they definitely, the architects of our system, used university and are doing they've been doing massive experiments on the human population for years. Some know about it, some don't know about it. We hear about like the Tuskegee Airmen, we hear about, different smatterings of experiments gone awry. But all of you guys that are watching me are all part of a massive experiment. You're like the mice that are in that experiment with, John B. Calhoun and the behavioral sink. And so, we are the land of innovation. America is the land of innovation. I have Europeans that are saying, man, America is so unhealthy. America is so overweight. America is so obese. Well, yeah, we've been experimented upon. We've had our genome being messed with. Okay? The people of Walmart is really it's symptomatic of the genome being messed with biotech messing with the American population, trying to figure out how we can exploit the body, mind, and spirit. If we have a genome be like this in this area, we can get a bunch of steel workers and a bunch of roughnecks to throw steel and to build houses and to be truck drivers and to be like, built like brick shit houses because they are the laborers part of our infrastructure. And then we have the two coasts where it's all about the yuppies and we'll do like all these different diets and give them access to more the chemicals and really mess with their genome and really just like, enhance their brain because we don't need to have the brawn on the two coasts. You have a few brawn on the two coasts where they're working on railroads. But for the most part, like San Francisco and New York City and all the major metropolitan areas, it's all about the brain. And then all of the infrastructure and the trees that are being cut down to make wood for paper or for building, construction, all of that are for the different, like in between America, middle America. And they're being programmed to just do physical labor. Okay? And they're programmed to only worry about, like, their bodies are so programmed and their hormones are at the surface because the muscles and everything else is at the surface, high sexual activity and high, and high energy and the work ethic, which is like, get up every day and work until you die, which is great. It's a great thought process. But it's the manipulation of the genome relative to the needs of the geographical area. I see it. I mean, I'm from Silicon Valley. I see how the mentality of the diets and all the different manipulations with the drugs and the alcohol and all the different things, in one side of the country and being raised in it and seeing it, and then moving to an inner America, middle America, in a major steel town, and I see that the shapes of the bodies here, and the women are freaking badass over here. They can kick your ass. They kick my ass. Okay, I don't fuck with girls over here because they are built like brick shit houses. So are the guys. but it's no surprise. It's not a coincidence that people are here. I mean, plus two, it's cold here, yes. But it's cold in New York City, but you have more yuppies in New York City. It's relatively warm in California, so yeah, you have the plastic surgery, the exercise regimes, the diets, and the starvation. The different, starvation diets that are still sanctioned because they need to use their brains. So brawn isn't really that promoted over there in California, except for certain jobs. Okay, so we are in a huge planned community, and you can still thrive despite it. But now you're seeing the illusion of America, the illusion of freedom, the illusion of a lot of things are now finally coming to surface that it's all an illusion. You're fighting for a freedom that you never really had. You're fighting for an idea that is now being tossed away because it's not needed anymore. We were never independent from England. We've been a colony from England probably since the very beginning. Since 1776, we've been a colony. We've been infiltrated a long ass time ago. And I kind of knew it a long time ago because I'm like, voting, how do you know your vote's being counted? This whole voting thing and picking a president and then your judicial process is all like perception. Legislative process based upon, the imbalances, all the different human experiments of people who cannot seem to follow the laws of their own body because they're never taught to as far as life, much less follow the laws of our community. So you need to have a legislative process. You need to have a judicial process. And it's selective enforcement. And then the executive is no different than a king or a queen, a figurehead. And now they're making a mockery of it by saying, hey, you know what? Everything you thought you knew isn't really so. It was just an illusion that we sold to you. And now we're going to start now it's the destruction, the decline of the illusion of America. But America can still stay within you. It doesn't have to be like a complete destruction of an idea. I like the idea of America and the freedom. Well, what the hell is freedom? So you can walk outside your door, so you can say what you want. People say they can't say what they want anymore. But you couldn't say what you want anyways. You couldn't say fire in a movie theater. So the illusion that you have freedom of speech and then the freedom of the press. Sometimes I wish the press would shut the hell up because the press can be like the biggest catalyst to like revolutions that don't need to exist. Do I love the freedom of the press? Not really. But then I'm like, okay, fine. But they're driving people's realities. So is it really great to have freedom of the press? So what I'm saying is we live in an illusion. And once you realize that, but there are still laws that have to be abided by. Okay? And so it's not that we live in anarchy. We don't live in chaos or anarchy. There is still laws that you have to abide by. Laws do change. But there are very fundamental laws like don't kill, don't steal, don't, covet your neighbor's wife or husband. Some of them are like 10 commandments. And so we at least we still have that law in America. We don't live like in the bush in the Kalahari Desert where it's like, major Darwinism, where it's like, survival of the fittest, literally, where it's like, kill or be killed. We don't live in that kind of society in the West. We're a little bit more civilized. But there's still an agenda out there that you have to learn how to see what it is and counter it, its intentions. And so it's interesting this morning, John Oakes posted something that I didn't even see. It just went right over my head. And I'm good with words, but he posted something about antigen, antigenes. Duh. So antigens is what programs and triggers the antibodies to go do a search and destroy. Antigen is it's the B cells triggering the T cells. It's in your immune system. It's what's being always manipulated and programmed. Okay? And this is what creates the diversity in our population. So if you know this and you understand that, regardless if you're in a planned community or not, under a huge, massive human experiment, you can counter it with another set of chemistry. You can release the excess, temper the amount of antibodies and antigen that are working with each other, so that way you can reprogram your body back to what it was originally intended based upon your environment. Because your environment's going to change every freaking day because of new viruses, new bacteria, because of mutations, because they're releasing different strains through the vaccinations, and you're not going to escape somebody shedding. You may have to get a vaccine because you're one of the first responders or whatever, and you have the ability to adapt to those vaccinations so it doesn't work against you. So, and so the thing with this principles of duality is looking for an enemy, because when you have to choose one or the other, the one that you don't choose becomes automatically the enemy in some way. Not all the time. I mean, if you choose between, pumpkin spice latte and a chocolate mocha, it's not like the chocolate mocha. It's because I picked a pumpkin latte, a pumpkin spice cold brew, doesn't mean that the chocolate mocha is like the enemy. But that's kind of how politics, religion, and science is that if you choose one or the other, then the other is automatically the enemy, and then somebody who forced you to choose is going to fan the flames and going to make you, it's going to reinforce your choice that, oh God, the Democrats, they're like the communists, the Marxist communists, which, okay, they might be, but who says communism promoting life is a bad thing? But right now we live in an imbalanced society where death is and chaos is like the most prevalent thing. So communism and death don't exactly, it's not very comforting, but communism and right wing, where people are all like, whatever their perception is, racist or something else, so you have these two sides that are fighting each other, living off of each other's perceptions and hating each other. And that's the principles of duality, is where you're looking for the enemy in somebody else. Oh, I don't believe salt is the answer, so Jillian, you're the enemy. You caused all of my issues, Jillian. Okay, that's someone that's a victim of the principles of duality. They were told no sodium, no salt. But when you realize that sodium and salt energizes your immune system, releasing the prostaglandins, expanding your arteries and capillaries so blood can actually fucking flow in areas that it didn't, giving you life. Yeah, you're going to feel pain because that's your life. That's life trying to grow. When you're born, it's painful. The labor pains of birth is the pain of life. Pain of life coming to the world. And when you die, it's painful, right? Because the body's still trying to freaking live and you're not giving it what it needs. And then you're heavily morphinated. Or on morphine. Morphinated. I'm making up words left and right. But they do follow the rules. Okay, so, the principles of duality forces people to pick an enemy, especially in politics, religion, and science. And so, the whole point of Jelly Juice is now finally, instead of using, for and against, instead of picking and choosing the principles of duality, good versus evil, Satan versus Jesus, left versus right, black versus white, whatever, now it's balance. How can you have both a chocolate mocha and a pumpkin spice latte? Why do you have to choose between the two? How can you have a mixture of Democrat and Republican? But there is a way you can mix the two, but they purposely make sure there isn't a way, because the control is within the division. The control is when you're always playing this same concept of good versus evil, relative to what you think is good, relative to what you think is evil. Because good could be, based upon someone's fucked up perception. How many times did Hitler or any of these horrible dictators think that what they were doing, killing people, was good? They purposely posed it, oh yeah, if you're not aligned with me, then you're bad. Everyone that's in my corner is good. And this is like, and these are people that are killing people. So good and evil is really a perception based upon whoever it is that's making that kind of assertion, and they could be really messed up, completely evil, but they think they're good. So why the hell would we choose something like, yeah, it's about good and evil? And then you have the Tower of Babel, because everyone thinks that what they're doing is good, and they're going after other people, they're hurting other people, they're bullying other people, they don't understand science, they're listening to the internet, they're listening to hearsay, they haven't done their research, they rely on ignorance to get them through. Oh, I didn't know. Never taking responsibility. So, yeah. The principles of duality is the very essence of MK Ultra, because it brings both what you love and what you hate to surface, and you bring life to it, you bring it into existence, and then that's how you program your children, and that's how you program a community. Oh, I hate pedophilia, as you're talking about 24/7. And then it's part of the landscape. It's being bred into the population. So if you're against something, you don't speak about it. You don't bring life to it. That's the whole point. Oh, but if you don't bring awareness, and if parents aren't paying attention to their kids, if they're giving their kids to people out there, but we know back in the 1970s, people didn't know about pedophilia, and so they gave their kids to strangers. Oh yeah, friend of the family, he's coming over. But when you know that this stuff exists, okay? But if you don't, then that's the balance of bringing awareness to something and then making people overly aware where they turn into the very thing that they're against. See, that's all about balance. Hey, Massimo. It's all about balance. And that's the thing, is that, a very aware mother would not give her kid to a stranger. A very aware mother would be very, very careful of who they introduce her child to. If you're not very aware of the world that you live in, and you're not protective of your children or of your animal, and your animal keeps getting out and it keeps getting, locked up over it, the pound because it keeps getting out, or it gets hurt in the road or hurt from somebody else because we don't know who this animal is, what the hell? And I'm not saying you deserve anything that happens, but this is why children become victims. This is why animals don't survive families, because the people in the family are not aware, they're not taking care of business, and they're too fucking distracted. And they don't deserve to have that child or to have that animal. And if you want to defend them and say, oh, well, accidents happen. I'm sorry, but I watch my dog, like my dog has never run away from me. She has never, I haven't had to bring her to the vet. I haven't had her, she hasn't had she's very well taken care of because I give a shit. I don't, give her to anybody. And I'm here all the time with her. If I had a kid, yeah, I don't know if I'd be a mixture between a helicopter parent and a parent be like, okay, well, at some point you're going to have to learn, but I don't want you to learn the hard way. Because even the hard way isn't always optimal to learn, because sometimes you don't survive the hard way. But I think some parents don't have enough balance with their kids as well as with their animals, and then the kid and the animal end up on the short end of the stick. So yeah, so that's the thing, is that we don't always have to bring what we hate all the time, because you might become exactly the thing that you hate. I have trolls on my Facebook that are following me, and they laugh at all my my posts on my business page, but it's getting through to them. They may laugh at it, but people, let me tell you, the truth passes through 3 stages. First, it's ridiculed. Second, it's violently opposed. Third, it's accepted as self-evident. So right now, I have trolls that are laughing at it, are in the first stage of truth. Truth doesn't mean fact. Truth is just another way of looking at something. It's another perspective. And it's a viable perspective, because any kind of truth is a perception, and it's disputable. There are no facts within a truth. Facts are facts. Facts are like words. How you spin the words is a truth. And then there's the laws of life and death. Then there are laws. Not man-made law, but natural law. Natural law will always trump man-made law. So, so be careful what you focus on so much. Be careful what you bring life to on a daily basis, because you'll become the very thing that you're against. I know I've changed some of the trolls' minds. Because what are they going to do? What else is there? You either succumb and expire with the system and the program, and you expect it and it's predictable, or you look at my information and be like, hey, maybe there is some credibility in J-Juice. Maybe. You don't have to take a lot in the beginning, but there is some credibility in J-Juice. The ideas are credible as well. If they've kept you alive this long, what's another 100 years? What's another 100 years? And another 100 years? And another 100 years? Barring no crazy natural disaster that destroys things at a very instant. Mossman goes, big battle of our on perception. Oh yeah. Perception is being sold as facts. That's the perception. That's the problem out there, is people don't even understand facts. Facts is just a noun. It's a person, place, or thing. It cannot be anything but a noun. It can't be a verb. It can't be an adverb. It can't be in a context. A person, place, or thing. That's a fact. A person, Jillian, is a fact. I exist. My name is Jillian. I exist. A place, Ohio. That's a fact. You can't dispute that Ohio doesn't exist. Ohio exists. A thing. This is a pen. You can't dispute. This is a pen. You write with it. There's no disputing this. This is a pen. It's not a pole. It's not a lamp. It's not a dog. It's a fucking pen. This is a fact. A fact is a noun, a person, place, or thing. When a noun can be an adjective or an adverb or a verb, is when it becomes a perception. It's called context. Parts of speech will tell you exactly what is a fact. That's how these journalists are able to spin the truth, because people don't know their syntax of the English language. They don't know how to look up words. An example in my book is where I show a sentence of marketing, and there are 17 words, and 51% of the words were perception, were adjectives, adverbs. So that whole marketing thing, there's only one fact or two facts. Two facts, were whatever was a noun that could not be anything but a noun. So everything that's written out there is a perception, is not fucking fact. A dictionary is a fact. The words in the dictionary are fact. When you look up words and you look at the parts of speech, if it could be anything, if it could be everything and a noun, then it's a perception. Because that's the concept of what facts are. So all the journalism, all of TV, all the different stories out there, all the movies, all the media, all the conspiracies out there, it's not a fact. It's a perception. Rockefeller does exist. Rothschilds, they do exist. What their intentions are, it's all perception. The New World Order, I don't know if they exist. I mean, Bush talked about it, but he didn't say who they were. He said we're going into a New World Order. It's very vague. He didn't put out there what the New World Order was. But people are putting out there, oh yeah, it's the Council of Foreign Relations, it's Kissinger's part of it, Bush is part of it. It's all speculation, but there's no fact behind it. There's no substantiation. But hey, Kissinger exists, Rockefeller exists, Hoover exists. Well, not anymore. So that's one of the biggest things that humanity is battling, is understanding the difference between fact and perception. And so what I'm trying now to do, bring to light, is say, okay, how you know when something's a fact? Because it's in the dictionary, it's a person, place, or thing, it's a noun, and it can't be anything but a noun. That's a fact. If it's an adjective, it's a perception. Parts of speech will tell you, the English language will tell you, mathematics are facts. 1 plus 1 equals 2. It can't be 3, it can't be 5, it can't be anything but 2. 1 plus 1 equals 2. All right. I'm going to go and do my thing. I'm going to drink my cold brew. I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning with my husband, totally wide awake. I'm like, I'm going to go get some Starbucks. So I'm drinking some Starbucks. You may be politically against it, but I like my Starbucks. They are a company. It reminds me of when I was living in California. I used to go to Starbucks all the time when I was selling insurance or working at some company in San Francisco, stepping over bodies in the BART station because all the homeless. Going to Starbucks, line out the door, everybody getting their caffeine on and their shots of espresso on to meet the day. So, yes, perception equals based on a belief system, Massimo. Absolutely. So, you guys just understand that everything that you believe in, whatever it is still a perception. Everything you post on Facebook is a perception. If you want to post facts, then post all nouns. Post all words that are nouns, a person, place, or thing. Facts are not interesting, but perceptions are, stories are. Using the archetypes, the characters, and plugging people into archetypes. It's more fun. It's a story. When the New World Order and Rockefeller and Rothschild, they're the enemy because they're part of the archetypal enemy, that's more entertaining than posting, okay, Rockefeller. What about Rockefeller? Doesn't matter. Rockefeller, that's a fact. Rockefeller. Okay. No journalist is going to post facts. Just so you know, no journalist is going to post a fact because they won't post just words, just nouns. If they posted just nouns, people wouldn't understand the slant. Journalists post perceptions. So do you guys on Facebook. So does politics, religion, and science post perceptions. Because there isn't just nouns on PubMed. There are nouns, there are adjectives, there are adverbs or prepositions, verbs. Okay? Politics, religion, science does not post fact. They post perception. Now it's up to you to find the perception that fits within your belief system. If you want to live, then you follow the laws of life. But if you're okay with dying, then stay exactly where you are and patronize the holistic and allopathic world and systematically destroy your body with detoxes and pills, powder supplements, shakes, cannabis, chemotherapy, all of that. But if you want to live, understand jelly juice. Because there's nothing else out there. Nothing. All right. Bye. Good morning. Nice to see you, Massimo Ponzi. Bye.